those two stories is Maryland and some of the landmark things that
Oh
happened
yeah,
there with regard to statewide, what they're doing to try to give local communities more control over policing, something
absolutely.
that Pennsylvania desperately needs. Hopefully, this week we'll have somebody on from Maryland who can talk about that, maybe a couple of different people who can unpack that story for us.
Yep.
Um, but, got to start though with the news of the passing of DMX. It was interesting because Friday morning when we
Hmm.
woke up, one of the groups that I'm a part of, actually, somebody in the group actually said it as though he had already died. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking when I was getting ready for the show Friday morning, he had actually passed, only to find out that he had not. And, but yeah, I mean, the passing of DMX has been, I mean, it really has it's taken on a life of its own. There have been a lot of hip hop stars that have died who've been close to folk. I mean,
Hmm.
one of the Fat Boys passed away within the season of COVID. I don't know if
Right.
people even know that. A number of people have died who've been like really big names. But I mean, honestly, I don't know of a hip hop artist that's died who's had this kind of impact. You have to go back to the murders of Tupac and Biggie to think about a hip hop artist where their death, and I'm maybe missing somebody in between that long stretch, but I mean, and not where people
Well,
are not
Jam
just
Master
torn up.
Jay. Yeah, Jam
Who,
Master Jay.
yeah, but it didn't have the same effect though.
You didn't think
Jam
so?
Master
Okay.
Jay was that was a horrible murder, but I mean, the DMX was not murdered, you all. I don't
Hmm.
want to leave that
Right.
impression,
Right.
but the fact is that I mean, the kind of outpouring and the kind of I don't know. I haven't seen this with anybody else. You have to literally have to go back to those two, as far as I can remember. And consider myself a student of hip hop, but I don't know if you can, how you're reading and interpreting this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think, people are impacted by DMX. I don't think it was the same extent that Tupac and Biggie happened. I mean, part of it is that he's older, right? He was 50 years old when he passed away. He's, just a year and a half or so younger than me. So, I think a lot of people are impacted by it. I mean, I think it would be different if he was really at the height of his career. Both Biggie and Tupac, when they died, were at the height of their careers, and were taken out. DMX really hadn't had like a huge hit recently, but he had historic status within the hip hop community. So I think it's impacting people, and I mean I think it's impacting the Gen Xers, right, more so than anybody else, because he was our contemporary in bringing out music, in the '90s and early 2000s.
But I'm telling you, but see, this is
See,
what
I'm
I'm.
not seeing it the same way. I'm not getting that same sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm telling you, man. It is. This is what's surprising me. So what you just said seems like what it should be, right?
Right.
Because he's right. You're talking about a 50-year-old who has not, like you said, not had a legitimate hit in like 11 or 12 years. But bro, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm getting this even from younger people, that a lot of people are just really torn up in a way that, like you said, suggested like this is what happens when a person gets pulled out in their prime
Hmm.
and they're
Hmm.
much younger, and it's like, oh my God. At 50, you kind of think people like, oh man, that's like really sad. But he, poor health, and you could see it. You could see his health decline watching him. But let me
Right.
just say this though. Um, DMX, man, first of all, I did not realize the extent of the drama and trauma that he had growing up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
uh, you know, um, beaten up by boyfriends of his mother, before he was 10. Um, uh, you know, a relative at the age of 7, got him drunk with vodka. And
Hmm.
remember, these stories, whatever you hear, each one is like the tip of the iceberg. So you got to imagine they're much, much more. Raised on the streets for a period of time, and I talked about this yesterday in my sermon. Was befriended on the streets by stray dogs.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's why he was where my dog's at.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it a family member that introduced him to laced marijuana, which got him hooked onto crack?
No, it was according to him, it was another artist who was still a young person but a little
Mm.
old.
Okay.
And so you for the details, you all can check out his own to check out his wiki page and others. I ain't gonna call the name because that's what he said, and I don't want to,
Right, right. I got you. I got you.
yeah, but he said it was an artist who gave him a cigarette, uh, either a cigarette or a joint, but it was like you said, it was laced with cocaine.
Hmm.
And back in our day, we called those blasters or grimmies, respectively. And yes, and the word was back then, this can't get you hooked like freebasing.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
but yeah, I can tell you some stories about that. That ain't true. And so yeah, but so a lot of things happened in his early life that were formative and that really shaped him. But these stories of his generosity keep coming out.
That's right.
That a person who didn't have much. Let me tell you. So I listened to this. That was Friday. I was in D.C.
Hmm.
because coming back home, that's what I listened to. I was listening to Rock the Bells radio, and
Mm.
Roxanne,
Yeah.
the real Roxanne,
The
is the
real
host
Roxanne.
of the afternoon
Yeah.
drive show. Dude, she was in tears
Mm.
because she was a foster kid and
Mm.
talked about the kind of relationship that the two of them had because he was in and out of group homes that only foster kids can relate to. And
Hmm.
you immediately start thinking about Anton Fisher's story and other
Right.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, it's well, it's sad. I mean, because he was so young, and the interesting thing too was that he while he was struggling with his addictions, he had a very strong faith and was very committed to his faith as well. And so, I think that that's just an important piece to lift up too.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's the most interesting thing to me. I mean, DMX man was you know, I mean, really, you could see him really struggling with the call and struggling with, this back and forth. So my favorite DMX thing, a lot of people are talking about their favorite DMX song.
Hmm.
Um, my favorite was actually his role in the movie Belly.
Yeah, that's right. Because he did a bunch of movies too.
Yeah, and Belly was to me, I mean, it was like the kind of watching his life play out even to the end, where he was just torn between the light and the darkness, as he would often talk about in his music, was played out in that film, where
Yeah.
he starts off Tommy, dirty, grimy, stealing, robbing, and killing, and he ends with this fictionalized minister who's actually Ben Chavis plays that role in the movie.
Mm.
And that's when Ben Chavis was at his height. He had just come out of
Right.
the NAACP. So
Right.
it fascinating, all that, um, but watching that film is almost like it was autobiographical for him. And you could
Mm.
see his really wrestling with these inner demons. We all do. But I think what gave him a closeness to most people is that he did it as an open book.
Yeah. I got you. Just want to note that Ben Chavis is United Church of Christ minister. I just want to say that because you don't really get your AME thing in there. I had to get my UCC thing in there just to say Ben Chavis, UCC
Well,
minister.
I'm sure at some point he was AME. Ben Chavis been everything. He was in the Nation. He probably Jehovah's Witness. I don't know. Ben Chavis, he been quite a few things. But
Yeah,
I'll give you that today.
yeah.
Check one for the UCC.
There you go. There we go. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate that a great deal.
So yeah, so folk are coming in on Facebook Live. Hit the share button for us. And so Rob Garland says that one of the things that elevated his status and connected him with the young people was his versus battle with Snoop Dogg. They were Battle of the Dogs, East Coast, West Coast, kind of bringing up that rivalry in a friendly way, not like in the '90s, which was a deadly way. But he said I missed that versus during the pandemic. Have to go back and check it out, but I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. Calinthia, yeah, even folks in their early 30s are tore up over DMX's death. Yeah, I'm telling you, it is. I was expecting it for, like you said, our generation, but not for people that I don't consider to be a part of our immediate kind of cohort.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah,
No, I get you on that. Get you. By the way, there's a whole bunch of folk that are over here on YouTube as well, and they were checking us out. And Tawanda's having fun. The fact that I mentioned that Ben Chavis was UCC, so she thought that was very amusing.
Well,
She also said he struggled publicly, made his faith tangible. Everybody was rooting for him, and I think that that's one of the things that made DMX. Everybody was rooting for him because he was public with his struggles. He didn't hide it. And he said, and he maintained his faith in the midst of all that, even in the midst of his struggles. And he was praying and hoping for deliverance from that. So I think that that's really important to lift up as well.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this last thing. Perhaps the issue, perhaps it was also the timing. So, I mean, so he started as an entertainer like in the early 90s, but he didn't make it big until like 99, 2000. So he
Right.
was much older when he even, I mean, so when you look at his hits, by right, if he had done it like most of these folks, so LL, remember, LL was like a LeBron. I mean,
Hmm.
he was like a star by like high school.
Right.
Run DMC, they were like 18, 19-year-olds. They're all about the same age, but again, by the time DMX comes up, these guys are all Hall of Famers at that point,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so he's now like coming into, to fame really in his 30s, early
Hmm.
30s, and rode that wave. I mean, dude, come on, man. In Romeo Must Die, he played the club owner.
Hmm.
Guns don't kill people, people
People
kill
kill
people.
people.
If you ain't black, get out my club. What a classic scene.
Mm.
We got to take a quick break. And when we come back, unfortunately, too much real stuff for us to stay here reminiscing. But again, rest in power to DMX. And we got to talk about some of the things that are happening from Virginia, Maryland, and to Minnesota as well. This is the Power Hour. Hit the share button on YouTube. Well, I don't know if they even have a share button. Yeah, they do. Hit the share button on YouTube and on Facebook Live. We'll be right back.
COVID vaccines are here, and Black physicians and scientists helped to develop them. So I feel good about getting the vaccine. And with new forms of the virus now spreading, I know we need to keep up everything we're already doing. Masking up, keeping that 6-foot distance, and avoiding crowds. COVID's been doubly tough on us. So let's double down to take it down. We can do this. Learn more about getting the vaccine and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States,
Keep it up.
where we continually exceed patient expectations.
Great. Keep it going.
Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds. A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds.
Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yup, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. And we have plenty of those. I was, when we were ending our last segment, I was getting ready to let out a bark, but then I was like, I might offend some cues out there, so I figured I better just hold back and, let that one go.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The cues, really, y'all don't own the bark. Or the dog. I grew up on Atomic Dog.
Yes.
So that's right. I'll tell you right now. I was like, you play that, this shut Oakland down. I had an
play that in any black neighborhood, you shut it down.
Hold up. I literally, this is no joke. So for those who remember 8-tracks, when I got the chance to borrow my mother's car, it had an 8-track.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get the music that I wanted, an 8-track, you just got to let that thing.
That's right.
And so sorry about that. I had an 8-track where I just recorded Atomic Dog repeatedly till it filled up the 8-track. So it always played.
You're going down the street, windows shaking, playing Atomic Dog.
So now, if you've gone to college, you pledged to frat or whatever, it's like the Qs have just like taken ownership of that. It's like, come on, man, stop. This stuff predated y'all.
That's right.
That was the Black Cookout theme. Man, I tell you,
Light and Atomic Dog. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So George Clinton, he set the stage for Snoop, set it for DMX and for all of them. But yeah, So looking forward, the Derek Chauvin trial had some real compelling moments on Friday as well. So Friday was just an incredibly important day for a number of reasons, and in the trial, the medical examiner, Dr. Baker, I think, was, I guess the defense for some time had been making a lot of hay about the fact that his original report seemed to suggest that there were contributing factors to the death of George Floyd that had nothing to do with Derek Chauvin putting his knee on for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. That all came apart on Friday. So, what it seems like is, like some people just don't know how to, some people give you more information than you need. I think that's all it is. Is a medical examiner, he's like, well, he had these contributing factors, he had these contributing factors, he had these contributing factors. You can walk away from that confused and think, well, maybe it was his hypertension that killed him. Maybe it was the drugs in the system that killed him. Maybe it was a bad heart that killed him. So thank God for a trial, and the prosecution had the last word. They came back after kind of all those kind of, what could have been this, could have been that. He said, what killed this man? Oh, it was neck compression.
I hate to laugh, but the reality is like, yes, that was the bottom line. That's the same thing everybody keeps saying. It's the same exact thing. No matter who you're talking to, whatever expert they bring in, it's the exact same thing.
Right. Maybe I was a little inarticulate. It was the neck compression.
Yes. It was actually kind of it's kind of wild. Well, one, I think the defense knows that they're beat now. So originally this was supposed to be scheduled to be a 4 to 6 week trial. And I know the defense is getting ready to get prepared to take, and they was announced this morning that they thought that they were going to wrap up in the next few days. So it seems to me that their game plan is probably falling apart, because if they don't have any strong witnesses to refute anything that was testified, who's going to refute the police chief, right? Who's going to refute the director of training? Who's going to refute, that Irish doctor was incredible. That came in that testified, right? You talked to both MEs, right? The one that there was the medical examiner from Minneapolis, and then there was the other medical examiner that did an investigation. They all said the same thing. This guy was killed. George Floyd was killed because Derek Chauvin kept his knee on his neck for 9 minutes and almost 29 seconds. That's why he's dead, period.
That's exactly right. So Derek Chauvin's knee applied to his neck, refusing to get off of him once he was restrained, once he was compliant, and staying there is what killed him.
Yes.
And that's what everyone is saying.
Yes.
And now let me just say, I know that. So first of all, if you haven't seen the cold open on Saturday Night Live, you got to watch it this week, because Keenan and I'm sorry, man. There's a young black actress now who's on the show. She is hilarious, and they play opposite of two white folk, Kate McKinnon and one of the young white guys. They're all four news anchors in Minnesota.
Okay, I think Dr. Tyler is a little frozen at the moment. Hopefully, we'll get him back very shortly. But nevertheless, on the show, I didn't watch the SNL piece, but I just want to go back to this whole campaign. I don't know who they're going to be able to pull out to be able to turn this thing around for their trial, for the trial, at the defense at this particular moment in time. Everybody has thrown this guy under the bus, and now to make matters worse, what happened in just a town just a few miles away is likely to exacerbate this whole situation all over again.
Yeah, I think I'm back now. I think that was Chauvin's attorneys that did it.
You think Chauvin's attorneys did it? Yeah, they didn't like the way you were talking. Is that what it was?
Yeah, but my point though is that the funny part of the skit is how black and white people see this. The white folk were like, "What's open and shut case? We know he's going to be convicted, right?" And they're like, "I don't know." they were like our listeners from last week. They're like, "Yeah, he should be convicted, but I just don't know." Now,
well, I'm in that same category. He should be convicted. Let me be clear. I think the testimony's all there, but I am not utterly convinced that the way that jury is made up, that he is going to get convicted.
Okay, so now again, and look, you get no argument from me. As a black American, I have grown up with a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to the ability of the American judicial system to do right by us.
Right.
And so that means we all think, anybody who listens to this show probably shares that. But as I said before, what I said last week, I still maintain, which is that I believe that. So remember the Rodney King case? So those jurors acquitted those guys, and then the city erupted, and the rest of the world erupted. Given a chance, if they had known that decision was going to do that, they probably would have thrown one of them under the bus, right?
Right.
In this case, you're talking about a city that has already gone through this, in an entire country and the pandemic, and I can't imagine that is not weighing on them. It's not like they don't have a ton of reasons. They're like, "Oh my God, dude, even the cops are throwing you under the bus. Nobody's throwing you a lifeline. This is an easy one." Now, that's where I stood last week. I'm gonna double down this morning after what happened last night. And we don't even fully understand what is the impact of the shooting last night.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen in cities across. Philadelphia better be bracing. And let me just say a word to people who come from the outside to demonstrate into black neighborhoods, and to people who are in black neighborhoods who choose to use this as an opportunity to go take whatever you want. They ain't got nothing to do with justice for Dante Hicks, the young man that people are going to be marching for later today and tonight and throughout the week, I would imagine. Stand down and don't, let people who come out to lead these kind of movements, whether from the neighborhood or wherever else, do that and not, mar it and let the message be diluted because we got to spend all day talking about why for the third time in 9 months we burned down 52nd Street.
Right. And that 52nd Street's ours, right? Those are our businesses, right?
Yeah, like the young people who came in from the outside the community, people I talked to, talking about like young white folk who are breaking the windows in businesses on 52nd Street in the summer and in the fall, following Walter Wallace's killing, and then opening the doors and just letting folk go in.
That's right.
So can we please not do that? But let me just say, so Dante Hicks, who is 20 years old, his mom was on last night. It looks like he is must be like his dad must be black because they're identifying him as black, and by looking at his mom, said that she bought him a car last week, his first car. He was pulled over for air fresheners. Apparently, this is
air fresheners hanging from the window, from the rearview mirror.
Yeah, and who's never done that before in your first car? First thing you do is you buy a bunch of cheap stuff that, because you ain't got no real money. So 20 years old, pulled over, gets out the car, for whatever reason, runs back to the car. And the story thus far is that the police shoot and kill him at that point.
Yeah, so evidently they pull him over. I don't know why he got out of the car. But evidently they asked him to get out of the car because he had a warrant out for him. I don't know what happens. They shoot him. He gets back into the car. He drives a few blocks and then crashes. And then when they get the EMTs get there, he's dead. There's actually somebody else in the car with him who did not have life-threatening injuries. So this is a tragic situation. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine, what would warrant them to shoot him. It's
well, you know what? You already know. You already know.
I mean, besides the fact he was black. But I mean, how can you be that I want us to say, how can you be that stupid right now, considering what's going on just a few miles from where you are? How the tension between black folk and the police is so hot and heavy right now that you're going to shoot a 20-year-old kid. I don't know what he did. I mean, he didn't have a weapon. They didn't mention a weapon. They didn't say anything like that. So you just shoot a 20-year-old kid. He gets back into the car and then drives away.
Well, right. I mean, but so again, now, if you're talking about this, so we have not seen body cam footage. You and I we are completely speculating on things that we've heard. So this is all conjecture on our part. So let's be clear that we've not seen enough to really say anything definitive. But if this is what the initial reports say it is, that he was pulled over, he was detained, he knew that he was not supposed to move and run, that he ran back into his car, the bottom line is they will be exonerated. They will not be brought up on charges, these officers in Brooklyn Center, because they will say, I feared for my life.
Well, they always say that. They're trained to say that. That's the first thing out of their mouth. When the other police officers get on the scene, when the supervisors get on the scene, the first thing they say was, we were afraid for our lives. And that's the first documented statement any police officer says after they do a shooting. That's to cover themselves, to legally cover themselves.
Right. I mean, look, now, and mind you, so I want to just kind of juxtapose these events, right? So you have a 20-year-old with air fresheners in Minnesota, in Brooklyn Center, and then way on the other side of the country in Virginia. Yeah. Because some people are saying, well, the problem is when you're 20, your pants are hanging down, you're leaning, you got your music loud. If you only did the respectable things, the police wouldn't mess with you.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference at all. All the way on the other side of the country, and maybe the only thing that saved this guy's life was the fact that he was in uniform, but you have an Army officer in battle fatigues, in gear. I mean, with his name, with his rank and everything there, cops know what that means. Pulled over, this one because he has tinted windows and no license plate, so they say, although
and a brand new car, and another brand new car.
Right, but he actually did have the license plate. The temporary tag was displayed properly. They ultimately did not give him a ticket. They pulled him over, and at one point they've got guns drawn on him.
That's right.
He's trying to figure out, what are y'all doing? This is in a gas station, well lit. The body cam footage has been released, and the two officers are giving him conflicting reports or conflicting instructions. Get out the car. Stay in the car. Put your hands up. Put your hands down. And he's like, look, I'm not trying to get shot and killed, and I'm afraid to get out this car, to which the guy says, you ought to be afraid, and then just calmly takes pepper spray and starts pepper spraying him. And again, look, if he didn't have that uniform on, nothing for nothing, they probably think that they were showing restraint by not shooting and killing him.
Well, they told him toward the end that, he should just let this go, otherwise they were going to ruin his military career.
Yeah.
I mean, this is heinous. I mean, because this guy, again, it shouldn't even be about respectability. This shouldn't even be about the fact that he was in uniform, but he was doing nothing wrong. He did everything right.
Yeah.
He pulled over. One of the things that the original police officer was complaining was that he continued going down the road for about a little over a minute to get to the BP station. So here's the thing. The cops said later on when they were complaining about that, this is part of the reason why they drew guns on him, is that actually drivers do that all the time when they pull people over in that area. Evidently, this is a high stop area that they were in, that people do this all the time. They pull into the BP station because it's lit, and, you're able to see clearly what's going on. But, they get this guy. They wind up pepper spraying him. They also beat him across his legs with their nightsticks as well. After
In
they got
uniform.
him out of the car. In
uniform.
In uniform. After they got him out of the car. And they were just treating him with an up level of disrespect. And they didn't really ask him questions, what I understand, about, like, where is your license plate? He kept asking them, why are you pulling me over? Why are you if they had answered the question, he could have said, look closer in the window. It's back there in the window. So that they would be able to see that he had his the car was properly registered, and so he was pulled over for false pretenses.
Right. Obviously, because they didn't give him a ticket at the end of all of that, they said, "Oh, well, we didn't want to mess up his military career by giving him a ticket." Like what? How about that? You didn't have anything to stand on. We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, there are a couple of comments. So Gary says. And I agree with this. These cops think they're losing power. People are talking back, asking why, and standing up to them. They're angry about these things. And it's clear, if you listen to the conversation between the cop and the officer, the military officer who was detained and beaten and pepper sprayed afterwards, a lot of that comes out in that conversation where he gets into kind of like, well, your guys and our guys. Like, what? Your guys? Military guys? Or black guys? Or guys who drive SUVs? Who are your guys, right? I mean, that there is certainly something here, but there is something we can do about this. So we will not leave you in a lurch. We're going to talk about what comes next, and we'll lift up Maryland and then talk about CPOC here in Philadelphia, and what I think really has to happen to change not only the narrative, but change the outcome and the results. And so we'll be right back. This is the Power Hour. Hit the share button and don't go anywhere.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Nappy-style hair products are formulated for today's black men and women's hair, embracing ancestral hairstyles. Come and experience these products. Beard oil for men, cream paste, and napping gel growth oil for braids. Go to www.nappystyles.com or The Movement in Mount Airy, 7133 Germantown Avenue, or African Cultural Art Forum, 221 South 52nd Street, or Culture Exchange, 1450 Point Breeze Avenue. Be happy to be nappy.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by America's Best Contacts and Eyeglasses. Looking at 295 northbound, getting busy 47 to 42 right lane block with the ongoing emergency construction. 55 northbound at Deptford into 42. A little busy there in Cherry Hill, 70 westbound after Cuthbert Boulevard. Restrictions there, pulling down wires from an earlier accident. The reason southbound 95 jam Cotman through Bridge. Again, Betsy Ross through Girard. Northbound looks pretty good. Westbound Vine Expressway, delays Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, you're going to find that building up at University through South Street. Just a bit of volume there. Further west, watch for delays in the area of 202. Emergency left lane construction there because of a sinkhole. Could cause a pretty good backup this morning. Don't overpay for glasses. Get 2 pairs and a free exam for just $69.95. The exam alone is worth $50. That's not just a better deal. It's America's best. Book your exam online today. In certain states, eye exams are provided by independent ophthalmologists. See stores for details. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Lingering clouds and a few scattered light showers this morning, mainly cloudy this afternoon. The temperatures in the upper 40s stay in the upper 40s through the morning. By this afternoon, they'll climb into the low 50s, a high of 52 for Philadelphia. Clouds overnight tonight, a spotty light shower is possible with a low of 45 Tuesday morning. Then sunshine takes over for a nice warm-up up to 64 degrees. Come Wednesday, clouds move back. Increasing clouds with the chance of some late-day showers, a high of 65 after a morning low of 47. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne David Royster. Hey, WURD family. WURD Radio, in partnership with Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp have teamed up to launch Get to Know. Get to Know is a new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the black community. Request your free, easy, at-home colorectal cancer screening test called a FIT kit. The FIT kit is designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer. The FIT test doesn't require any fasting or colon cleanses, and it can be done in a matter of minutes. Most importantly, you'll learn how to make sure you and your family members can stay well and live a long, healthy life. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Get to Know banner or call 1-877-422-2030 to learn how you can get your free at-home FIT kit screening test. Please, family, take care of your health. In this moment when we have so much stress going on, where we're constantly under tension, do everything you can. Colorectal cancer impacts the African-American community disproportionately. I know, like I mentioned last week, I had family members that have died from this, including my maternal grandmother. And so we need to make sure we get tested, and we do that frequently. And as a person who lost someone to this disease, I know how hard this can really be. So please get tested. This test will make it easy, and it'll be a start of making sure you can live a longer, healthy life.
Get your tests, people.
Absolutely.
That's a brutal way to go, and you don't want to do it. Yeah. Well, you know, so I'm looking at this, and you know, our friend Joe Simmons, with this daily reminder, abolish the police, and my daily response, which is, that's great, but what do you replace it with? Right? I think that at the end of the day, this is all of these stories from from a near tragedy in Virginia, and thankfully that cop who did the pepper spray has been fired already. That ought to tell you how bad it was. He's gone. To the killing of Dante Hicks, and we'll know more about that as time unfolds, and George Floyd, who died of neck compression. You get that? That all of these stories keep coming back to the same thing to me, which is that it's about having control of the police departments. I mean, so why do cops do what they do? Part of it is the immunity that they're offered, right? You know, qualified immunity. So they know, you know, you got like so many kind of protections that are out there that it's like, you know, I can't be sued. It's just, you know, I'm just doing my job. I'm a public servant, like a garbage person in the sense, you know what I mean? So I'm a sanitation worker. You can't sue me. Something goes wrong, you know, because I'm a public servant. All right. So we've got to change the way in which this operates, because, you know, sanitation workers, unless they run you over in their truck, can't kill you.
Right.
We don't give them, you know, the weapons to go and kill people, nor do we do that with public school teachers or anyone else. So we can't treat the union and the police unions across the country like everyone else.
That's right.
We cannot continue to allow city councils or county, you know, government or mayors or whatever your local structure may be, whether it's in Virginia, whether it's in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, wherever. We can no longer rely on elected officials, you know, who run cities and counties to do right by black folk and to rein in police departments. We just can't. They've not show me the one that's done it right. And it'll be
one hasn't.
Right. So to me, you know, things like CPOC, this new police commission that has been voted on in Philadelphia that's being shaped. This is only the first step. I want to see something that is so radically different, where this commission operates like a strong independent school board in a city, where they get to raise their own money and levy, taxes for their own money. They have control over hiring not only the director, which in this case would be the chief or the commissioner, but they get decisions over hiring and firing all the way down the ladder. They write policy, they write directives, they handle discipline. Because until you can have something like that, and that is not connected to the FOP, where you can't be connected to the FOP to be a member of this commission and to run it, then we're going to continue to come back to this exact same thing repeatedly. So shout out to Maryland. You sent me the story. You probably had a little bit more time to read it, but I mean, Maryland seems like they're moving in the right direction toward at least letting cities have that kind of power.
Yeah, so there were 4 bills that were passed in the Maryland legislature last week, and as a matter of fact, Governor Larry Hogan, who, and he's a Republican, but he's actually been pretty cool because he can't stand Trump. And he actually beat Ben Jealous, actually, in his second term. Ben Jealous, former president of NAACP, was running against him for the governor of Maryland. But he had a lot of strong support from African-American leaders in the state of Maryland. But anyway, they passed 4-part Maryland Police Accountability Act, and Hogan said it went too far. He was going to veto, but the Democrats overrode. He did not have a veto-proof majority, and the Democrats overrode his objections. And so this legislation is going to, it's very powerful. It actually overhauls the disciplinary process for officers accused of misconduct. It allows public scrutiny of complaints and internal affair files, which nobody ever gets access to. So they will have access to internal affair files. It creates a new legal standard requiring that police use only necessary and proportional force, and officers who use excessive force will face additional criminal penalties, including up to 10 years in prison. So that's over and above just what the regular law is. Because they're police officers and they abuse their power, they can get an additional 10 years. And it also puts a limit on no-knock warrants or raid at home, or the ability to raid homes at night. So, I mean, this actually speaks to the Breonna Taylor situation in I forgot what city that was in now, in Louisville. Yeah. So that speaks to Breonna Taylor. And this is actually, I mean, and there are other provisions of it as well. But, I mean, nobody else has done. This is actually at the state level this is done, right? So this is totally different than, a lot of stuff is happening locally, but this really emboldens and empowers, local police departments, in local communities to really take control of their police forces. In many ways, this would almost be the equivalent of the repeal of Pennsylvania's Act 111 that really does a lot to protect police officers in the state of Pennsylvania. If we could get Act 111 repealed, it would be a new day for policing in the state of PA.
Well, listen, I mean, Maryland is going in the right direction. And so I'm trying to find somebody now who we can get to talk on the show who was intricately involved in this. And I got to believe some of this came from the grassroots community first. And so we certainly want to talk about that. But, there is another way we can fix all this.
What's that?
You do know that, right?
What's that?
Well, I ran across an old clip from Morgan Freeman that's been resurfacing lately. Apparently, when you have a golden voice as a gift from God, you can say any stupid, asinine thing. That's not a bad word, is it? Yeah, no, I don't think so. Anything, you can just say anything, and apparently it just sounds good. So he told Don Lemon a few years ago, but it's been circling back in the wake of what happened in the last year. that the way that we end racism is that we just stop talking about it.
That's what Morgan Freeman said?
Yeah.
Easy Reader said that?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I'm just totally disappointed.
He's like, see, Don, there's no racism if we don't talk about it.
Was he being sarcastic?
No.
Oh, jeez.
It started off by talking about wealth disparity.
Yeah.
And so he was like, basically like, the wealth disparity between blacks and whites has nothing to do with race. He said, look at you, Don, look at me. We're proof of it. So we're proof that race doesn't have anything to do with it.
What is Morgan smoking?
See, now that's the thing. He is in California, and he wears earrings on both sides, so he's a hip old guy. So he's not your typical granddad. And so one must think that he might be, I don't know, experimenting, because that sounds like something somebody high would say.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman said, you all just stop talking about racism, Power Hour, and racism will go away. They're not shooting black people in the back because you're black. They're shooting you in the back because you keep talking about it.
Okay. We have to go on that note. Our time.
Just stop talking about this stuff.
Our time is up.
Tomorrow we ain't talking about none of this.
And we're pulling Morgan Freeman's black card. All right. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here with us for the Power Hour today. Thank you, Kwesi, for holding down the boards. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for doing everything you do each and every day and being a part of this show. Thank you to all of our listeners, everybody that's on the air, checking us out through the app, those that are on Facebook and YouTube, and whatever means that you're listening to us. We deeply appreciate you. We know there is no show if you're not there listening to us. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. Stay tuned now for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. And listen, family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.